So to look at that, and that's what the presentation this morning is. And with that, I'll turn it over to Paul.
And before you begin, Mr. Cobb, let me just, for the record, Commissioner Flowers and Commissioner Long are representing us at the Florida Association of Counties. Are not here today.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Paul Kazi, Parks and Conservation Resources Director. We'll go ahead and get started with the beach smoking bans as the first item. So recently, there was a change to Florida Statute, Chapter 386, Part 2, which was previously called the Florida Clean Indoor Act. It's been amended to the Florida Clean Air Act, and it now allows local governments to restrict smoking within the boundaries of any public beaches and public parks under their ownership, with the exception of unfiltered cigars. And it goes on further to allow municipalities to restrict smoking within public beaches and parks within their jurisdiction, but owned by the county, unless such restriction further conflicts with a county ordinance. And that legislation became effective July 1st, 2022. So the reasons why you might want to institute a smoking ban at county beach parks specifically, because for decades we have restricted smoking within our environmental lands as well as Heritage Village under the reasons for public safety, specifically the danger of a wildfire that would be caused by discarded smoking materials. So the first reason, of course, is litter reduction. Keep Pinellas Beautiful, which performs a coastal cleanup every year, in their last pre-COVID cleanup, the #1 litter item was cigarette butts. Collected almost 19,000 cigarette butts. Last year, which was a shortened cleanup, they still collected over 14,000 cigarette butts on county beaches. Cigarette butts themselves contribute to microplastic in the waterways. The filters break down, plastic tips on cigars, those types of things. They also find their way into the wildlife and fisheries. They get discarded, birds pick them up, as you'll see in the picture, and they can be mistaken for food. So as part of our research, we looked at what other beach communities are doing. We contacted a number of counties, what we consider peer beach community counties. And you'll see on this that, that there are several weren't currently proposing any bans, but I think this is a moving target. Seems to be changing from week to week, month to month. We also met, or I also met with the Big C at their August 31st meeting, and was informed that many, if not all of the beach communities are moving towards a smoking ban on public beaches. In fact, they're currently creating a template ordinance that can be shared amongst all the beach communities. You'll see here there's current smoking bans in effect throughout the state of Florida. And as I said, it's also a moving target. There's a couple there listed at the bottom that are currently considering bans. St. Petersburg and the city of Sarasota specifically have actually moved into preparing public hearings on those issues. So, you know, as it becomes more widely known, more communities are considering smoking bans on their beaches as well as within their parks. Now, when we looked at this, really what we were focused on was our 3 county beach parks, because smoking seems to be a bigger issue within the beach communities. You know, most of our parks, people are going to exercise and they're moving around, so it's not a major issue there. People who do smoke tend to show up in the parking lots, going there for lunch and an opportunity to relax, but we think that really where we see the impacts of smoking is on the beaches as well as the dune areas, because Those are environmentally sensitive areas, and it's difficult to go through there and pick up cigarette butts and other trash. If we were to impose a ban, like I said, we would want to keep it to the sandy beach area and the dunes, trying to do that within 20,000 acres of parks, or 10,000 acres of parks, another 10,000 acres of preserves and so forth would be difficult to enforce. Of course, we're always going to be looking at education first. That would be done through signage, voluntary compliance, and then we do have the ability to enforce it through our park rangers if necessary. They can enforce Chapter 90 of the county code. One of the other things that came up at the Big C meeting was originally we weren't going to deal with what we call the beach access parks, Indian Rocks Beach, Tiki Gardens, those places. But after the discussion at the Big C meeting did come back to me that, hey, we'd really appreciate it, at least for a couple of those municipalities, if you could put your rules in effect on the beach access parks that we co-manage with those municipalities.
Paul, before you move on from that slide, the restrictions only in the sandy beach dune environment, is that your recommendation, or was that a limitation somewhere in the statute?
No, that would be the recommendation, and the recommendation that you'll see was we looked at with the Parks and Conservation Resources Citizens Advisory Board. One of the things that in our discussion was we don't want to make this an issue of whether you should smoke or not smoke. We really wanted to address the issue of the litter, the impact on the wildlife and the waterways.
And also, if you see, I think that's what you're seeing in most of the Big C communities. They're really looking at the sand area, correct?
Correct.
And because we also were talking about, okay, if you did it in parks, then do you have to have a smoking area, or or all the other things? So this makes it much more defined and pretty consistent. You do, however, have like St. Pete that is going to, I think, moving towards banning in within their parks. So there is that option, but that's his recommendation. Our recommendation is to keep it at the sandy area.
When that brought up when you're talking about the parking lots that we have at Indian Rocks, and so we wouldn't be talking about in the parking lots. Right. And it is interesting that we would have to think about having a smoking area. We don't allow drinking on the beach, but we don't have a drinking area on the beach for. Sorry, I just popped into my head.
Again, commissioners, these are. I mean, it does allow us to go there if that's the preference of the commission. So,
Commissioner Eggers.
So sandy beaches, so if you're walking along the water line,
Well, that's a good point because, of course, our property ownership only goes to the mean high water line. So technically, someone could do that. Really, from the standpoint of one of the county beach parks, really the smoking issue, the people who plop down and are there for several hours, and they're basically smoking and then digging a little hole and putting their cigarette butt in there, and then it gets uncovered with a good rainstorm or something like that and ends up in the waterway or gets dug up by wildlife.
So does and I know we don't want to get into the whole public-private water line minutia, but if I own a hotel on the beach, can I ban smoking on the beach in that what's considered the private beach area?
Well, and that is actually the reason why we tried not to go in that direction and keep it concentrated on our 3 regional parks, because we have the boundaries it encompasses. The Big C, their intention is to create these smoking bans on public beaches, but they do have that issue where a lot of the hotels and even residences own a portion of the beach, right, and they would not be able to restrict it there.
Right. I see, Commissioner Gerard, did you have a question? Okay. All right, carry on, please.
Okay, so on August 18th, we took a I took this to the Parks and Conservation Resources Advisory Board. And as I said earlier, the advisory board felt strongly that this is a litter issue. It's not about people's right to smoke, and that they are in favor of a smoking ban for beach parks managed by the county, which would include Sand Key, Fort DeSoto, and Fred Howard, and to limit it to the sandy beach and the dune environment. That passed 5-1. The only opposing vote wasn't that they were against having a smoking ban on the beaches, but they thought that there should be a designated smoking ban on the beach. So if we were to do this,
Designated smoking ban or designated smoking
a
area?
designated smoking area within the beach. So I think, as I said, if we were to do this, the best way to do it, in discussing it with our county attorney, would be to update Chapter 90. I would only just add that because of the request from the Big C, that we would include those beach access parks where they're looking to have a citywide beach smoking ban, and then just for general housekeeping would include environmental lands, management areas, and Heritage Village as part of the smoking ban, so that there's no conflict amongst our rules.
And the statute specifically says that it's areas you own, the county or city owns, right? So we couldn't put a ban on countywide, basically, on all the beaches, and it's only the ones that we control.
Correct.
Okay. Commissioner Eggers?
So, so people can, again, I want to make it as clear as mud, that they can walk along the beach line. I'm not talking about the sandy beach, but just walk along the beach. They're sitting in their thing, they get a cigarette out, and they go down and they can walk along the beach. I mean, look, when we had the pandemic and we said beaches are a great place to go to just like air it out, so to speak. This is outdoors, the wind's blowing, people think, oh, of course you can smoke here. Now, the litter issue is a whole different thing. So they can go down to the beach and smoke, and then they can, I guess, light up a cigar sitting on the beach. That's okay too.
Right, an unfiltered cigar is not covered by any of the prohibitions.
Okay.
And that's by state statute, that's not
Well,
us.
I'm just trying to get to
Yeah.
the principle of this is a litter issue. Well, so people can smoke cigars and they're creating litter too, and so
They had a
I guess this
better
is just
lobby.
less litter. Less litter, okay. And then the enforcement piece of it. I just, so we have lots of beach area, and so we're just going to educate at first and encourage at first for a period of time.
Yeah, we would put up signage at the access points to the beaches, at those 3 beach parks, and as well as any of the beach access parks, that just reminds people that smoking is prohibited. And then it would be up to, at least at our 3 county parks, our park rangers have the authority to enforce Chapter 90. But as I said earlier, the first step would be education, signage, voluntary compliance. No one's going to be ticketed, first time they show up with a cigarette at the beach. There'll be a conversation with individuals, just reminding them that it's prohibited.
That recommendation up on the board will be what's on the signs.
Well, the signs would reference, because they're required to for enforcement, would reference the particular portion of Chapter 90, however that wording ends up coming out, but that's what would be on the signs.
All right, but it's not that there's no smoking on the beach. There is smoking. It will be allowed. After this is passed, there'll still be smoking on the beach allowed. So that's why I was saying that wording right there says, except the cigar piece, says exactly what should be allowed. I mean, walking along the water is allowed. So you can't say.
I don't think we want to,
Wait, but if you say no smoking on the beach, then people
I
smoke on the beach, are they going to get ticketed?
We will enforce what is allowed by statute, okay? But I wouldn't also want to carve and say the limitations, like the water line. I mean, if we're trying to prevent litter, if that's the whole reason we're doing it, then why would we carve out, something that, is unenforceable? But we're not gonna go out for somebody walking in the water because that's not covered by, it's not our land.
Okay.
But we would reference a statute, and again, if somebody lights up, they're gonna say, put it out, okay? You can't do that. You would enforce it if the person's lit up again, right? I mean, that's, the idea is not to have some kind of a hard thing, but if we're going, if the reason we're doing it is for the issue of litter, then we try to, enforce the intent of that. Unfortunately, it's gonna make it hard because somebody right next to you could light up a cigar, and we don't have the statutory authority to enforce that. And that's the difficulty of having those carve-outs.
And I would also mention, if someone is down on the water line smoking, discards a cigarette butt, that's still a violation of the chapter because it's littering. So, as the administrator said, we're trying to address the litter issue specifically.
Commissioner Gerard?
Yeah, I was going to say, the first thing they're going to do is throw their butt in the water so that it washes back up on the beach. I would like to suggest, though, if people can go up on the other side of the dunes and smoke, which they will be able to, can we put receptacles there for their butts so they're not just flicking them on the ground?
No, that's an excellent point, and it's something we would be looking at wherever they're entering that, is to have a receptacle so we're not all ending up with piles of cigarette butts right at the beginning of the boardwalk.
Commissioner Seal?
So, violation of Chapter 90, what happens? Do they get a fine? I can't remember.
Yes. By code, it is a $118 violation. However, and I'll refer to Jewel, but it's my understanding that you can set a different fine amount for a specific violation, so.
But does it have the, we usually have first offense, second offense, third offense?
If we don't establish basically our own fine schedule in the ordinance, it will default to the established fine schedule as set forth by the administrative order that governs ordinance violations in Pinellas County. I can't recall off the top of my head what those fine levels are, but you're right. It's basically a category 1 through 5. So depending on where, if we didn't do it ourselves in the ordinance, depending on where that first threshold fine was established, say the court went ahead and said, we're going to designate this a category 3, then you would have the opportunity to go up through 3, 4, 5. And typically, 5 is going to be at the max, which is 500.
And do we know why the state didn't cover unfiltered cigars?
Ybor City. Commissioner Peters.
The former speaker, Jose Oliva, owns Oliva Cigars.
Oh,
He what?
He owns Oliva Cigars.
Further questions?
Commissioner
Seal.
Who could issue the violation? Could the park ranger issue it?
Yes, that is something the park ranger can issue, and that was something, we didn't want to do something that was going to burden local law enforcement, give them one more thing to deal with. So all of our park rangers are authorized to enforce the code.
But law enforcement always can
Right.
choose to enforce your ordinances.
And that's probably who would do it for the municipalities, as they adopt their ordinances. They probably won't have separate staff out there.
All right.
Yes, general support, bring it back.
Do commissioners want to see it brought back for a vote?
I do, but I think it's going to be messy.
Well, and
Especially if you can smoke a cigar right next to, and someone's going to go, well. But the other thing that I would like, though, is a designated smoking area at our parks. Because I know it does irritate people who,
Commissioner, we certainly can establish that. The reason we didn't propose that originally is because you can walk out of the Sandy area and it's allowed anywhere within the park. We didn't ban it in the rest of the park.
Oh, sorry, I mean designated smoking area in our other parks.
Oh, and not allow it in the, because it's allowed within the parks.
I understand that. but,
Okay.
I mean, if we're trying to reduce litter, it seems like that would be, you know, at least we'd have an area where there's a receptacle and, I don't know,
What do you think about that?
I'll throw that out there.
The parks, when you all discussed it, it was just the beaches. You didn't talk about every county park, correct?
Correct. If we were to designate a smoking area, then the intention would be then to prohibit smoking everywhere else. I mean, if that's,
Maybe we try step one and just set up designated areas to encourage people that that's where it is. I don't know. I just,
Yeah.
if, you know, if we're really trying to
Reduce litter, right. Why don't
And
we
also
have,
reduce the possibility of fires, just having,
why don't we have Paul look at that and
Yeah.
bring you a few options?
okay.
And to Commissioner Egger's point, and I understand what you're saying, but I wouldn't want a sign up there that had a big graphic. You can smoke here, but not here, but here. You know, I get your point, but I guess I'm okay with discouraging someone smoking in an area where maybe they legally can versus having to do that full explanation. And if someone's smoking a cigar and someone's smoking a cigarette and they tell the person to put it out and the person complains, that's state law. You know, that's not something within our control. And yeah, it's messy, but that is what they have delivered to us. Those are the options we have. Commissioner Gerard? I'm sorry, Commissioner Peters?
So, I mean, my thought on that is a lot of people aren't going to know, and if on the signs, are we going to say, except cigars? So the thing is, we can put it on the sign, except cigars. However, whenever you have a no smoking thing, most people just assume there's no smoking. So if we want to get specific and say, except cigars, that's one thing for clarity. However, a lot of times when you do a no smoking, nobody smokes. I mean, they don't look for that caveat of cigars. So I don't know if, and not that many people really get aware on what our ordinances are to get in the nitty gritty. So I don't know how messy, when the rubber hits the road, it's going to get. We're going to have a messy here and a messy there, but I don't think it'll be a big messy.
Nope.
But we have an option. We can put, according to, you can put within, according to state law, except cigars. But I don't want to be promoting people smoking cigars. And so I worry that if we do put that on the sign, it promotes it. So, I think we always can go back and, do that. But I think because, even when we closed the beaches, people didn't understand that the water line was still public. And they didn't understand that behind the hotels were still public. A lot of people don't get into the nitty gritty of our ordinances kind of when the rubber hits the road. So I think there'll be some messy, but I don't think it'll be a big messy. Just kind of my thought. And you might be absolutely right, and I could absolutely be wrong, but the only thing is if we put it on the signs, it gives clarity, but I think it encourages it.
Yeah.
So.
we'll create a whole new era of cigar smokers, but I would say that we would have to specify unfiltered cigars because, of course, we've got the plastic tip cigars.
Commissioner Gerard?
So can we legally post no smoking without putting anything about cigars on there?
You can, and the way you would do it is no smoking as per
Oh,
the
yeah,
and you list the
right.
ordinance. Now, again, nobody's going to go back and read the ordinance and
Put a little
specify
QR
that.
code up there. They can get into Legistar. And
No QR codes. I do think it would be a good idea to voluntarily sort of make a smoking zone kind of away from the shelters where people are eating and congregating and, we don't have to enforce anything there, but yeah, it's something to think about.
Well, and I will give you an example that we have done previously, our playgrounds, where we've had signs that said, kids' play area, please be courteous about smoking, that type of thing.
Well, and maybe that's a starting point in the parks of, if nothing else, no smoking in the playground areas, you know? I mean, if you want to take a step by step instead of I mean, there's some logic there.
Yeah.
No, we have
Just
courtesy.
as a courtesy.
Commissioner?
Yeah, well, I'm hearing that it's not going to be a big deal, so I'm willing to take a shot at it, but, I mean, I think there's enough confusion here that we're going to have a lot of different interpretations, and we'll see. If it's not going to be a big deal, it's not a big deal, but I think you're still going to allow, there's still, people are going to bring their cigarettes, there's still going to be smoking on the beaches, and there's still going to be cigar smoking on the beaches with all their stuff, and we're going to have a ranger, hopefully that's not spending too much time on this because he's got other responsibilities.
They're very busy.
And so it's going to be hard to enforce, and we'll just see how it, see.
What is
how it goes.
we talked about different level of fines. So if someone flicks it, I mean, I don't know if we've ever fined anyone for throwing their cigarette butt on the beach in the history of Pinellas County. But if someone did and we did decide to, what would that fine be? Is that the $118 or is that it?
I believe that is if it's applied under Chapter 90. I know there's another section of the code that deals with littering, but I'd have to.
If we could get that, I think that would be helpful. And I mean, I don't want to see someone slapped with $118 for, you know, flicking a cigarette butt.
And certainly, that is far from our intent. We're not out there. I think, you know, the only person who's going to be susceptible to that type of issue is someone who completely refuses to comply with the request of a park ranger or local law enforcement.
One more question.
Commissioner Eggers.
Yeah, just back to the litter thing that you were talking about. So right now, let's say we don't do anything with this, and somebody's out on the beach and they're smoking because they're allowed to, and they throw their butt. That's a littering thing, and that's already against the rules, right? I mean, so the littering part is already against our rules, yes?
Littering is already against our rules. The issue with the smoking is it's very difficult unless someone is blatantly throwing that butt. Generally, they keep it close to them and hide it for at least the time that they're there, just to not be obvious that they're littering on the beach.
And I know that has been the littering part of it has been, but I have to believe there's some component of public enjoyment. You know, if you're at the beach and the person next to you is, you know, going through a pack, it doesn't make your day at the beach very pleasant. You know, and obviously you're outside, the secondhand is diluted a little bit, but it's still there. Well, do you have some feedback and some thoughts?
Yeah, I do. We can certainly bring this back to you. I think I think it is something that we should try and, you know, take a light hand on enforcement, but it's also consistent because you've heard from the Big C, almost every beach community is moving towards enacting a similar type ordinance.
Commissioner Seal.
I pulled up the code, and it says smoking is prohibited in environmental lands except in designated areas. The department may, in its own sole discretion, prohibit smoking at other county-owned or managed lands by the department when necessary for fire prevention purposes. Just that and I'm trying to find fines, but I haven't found it yet.
So Rick, could you read the first part of that again?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, smoking is prohibited in environmental lands except in designated areas.
So it just hold that. So it's prohibited unless, so are the beaches set up that way right now?
Now, when we say environmental lands, that specifically refers to the preserves and the management area.
Fire perspective,
Right.
fire creating, okay.
But you already have discretion to do it in other county-owned or managed lands.
But for fire prevention, so it would be very hard to make a case for like Sankey Park. You know.
Madam Attorney?
And it looks like, if I have found the most recent administrative order from the court, that currently your ordinance that prohibits littering within your parks, the uncontested fine amount is $93. If you go to court and contest it and are found guilty, it would be $138 because of the additional court costs that are added on. And that's for a first offense.
What are the other levels? found it.
That is a Category 5 or Class 5 fine, and what it basically says is that fines may be doubled for a second offense and for each subsequent offense thereafter. The maximum remains $500.
But in our actual enforcement, the person would basically have to put their cigarette out on the boot of the ranger to, right? I mean, that's kind of,
Pretty much.
yeah.
But I mean, we, you know, and people bring food out to the beaches, right? I mean, they're allowed to do that.
Oh, yeah.
And they have things that create litter as well. I mean, so it's going to be, it'll be interesting. And I think to your point, it's not just the litter, although that's what the advisory board was focused on. Because people do bring food, and they probably occasionally litter. I know the smoke buds would be a lot easier to.
Right, and
Very
that's one of the issues. Of course, yes, we have litter on the beaches, especially if we've got a thunderstorm rolling through, people abandon stuff. It's much easier to pick up a bottle, because you can see it, as opposed to cigarette butts, which are tiny, and then, like I said, they work their way into other areas. It's easier for the rangers to come through and pick up bottles, cans, papers, things, beach chairs, coolers, all of the other things that get left behind.
Further questions or comments? All right,
We'll bring this back to you. Thank you.
all right, Paul?
Okay, the second issue that bringing before you today was initiated by a specific incident that occurred at John Chestnut Senior Park concerning an unleashed dog. Had an issue between a park ranger and a citizen. The citizen was referred to the department, and we subsequently brought that to the park board. The citizen actually attended a park board meeting, bring up his issues, and we were asked to look at how these issues are handled elsewhere, specifically what options might there be, whether we have, look at allowing dogs to be off-leash in county parks, allowing dogs to be off-leash for certain hours, or maintaining our current rules. So specifically, Chapter 90 currently requires dogs to be on a 6-foot leash unless they are within a fenced dog park or at the dog beach in Fort DeSoto Park. Dogs, including leash dogs, are also prohibited from playgrounds, swimming areas, beaches, boardwalks, bathrooms, showers, restrooms. That also goes along with other further ordinances related to Chapter 14 as far as animal control, dog behavior. We do not allow, as I mentioned, in the ordinance, we don't allow dogs within county preserves and management areas. One of the reasons, or some of the reasons why we don't allow dogs off leash currently, it certainly increases the chances of conflict between dog owners and dogs. A lot of people that use the parks, especially younger children, have a fear of dogs. There's the increased chances of a patron being bitten by a dog. As you see in the picture here, we've got a dog trying to dig out a gopher tortoise burrow, unleashed dog at one of our parks. It's also not safe for the dogs. We've had many dogs over the years that have wandered down into a pond or a lake at one of our parks and been snatched by an alligator. We've also got the issue, we've got venomous snakes within the parks. And we also have the potential for dogs to be hit by cars or mauled by other dogs. And then, of course, there's the liability concern if we're going to allow people to bring in their dogs into a park off-leash, we have no knowledge of what type of history that dog has, and whether we're allowing an unsafe condition to exist. But it's not that we don't welcome dogs at the parks. We do have 7 dog parks, roughly a little over 1.5 acres in size each, as well as the Fort DeSoto Dog Beach, which is just about 2.5 acres. And in addition to the locations you see on the map, of course, many of the municipalities also have dog parks. I think there's at least another 12.5 dog parks spotted throughout the county. So like we did with the smoking issue, we did a process to gather information as to what other agencies, counties, cities are doing. One of the first things we did, posted a question to our state professional association on their online forum, asking, does your agency allow dogs to be unleashed within your system? We queried each of the municipal parks and recreation agencies within the county, and we also conducted, again, a peer survey of Florida County Parks and Recreation agencies. So with respect to the first issue, the Florida Parks and Recreation Association Forum received no affirmative responses that anyone was allowing dogs to be off leash outside of a dog park within any of their park facilities. Peer county responses were received from, as you see, many counties. None allowed off-leash dogs in parks except in designated dog parks. And when we talked to the municipalities, there was only one example that kind of tied into kind of that option that tried to satisfy both parties, being the limited hours where dogs could be off leash, and that was at City of Dunedin's Hammock Park. They do have an area designated from 7 in the morning till 9 in the morning, and I think it's 5 to 7 in the evening, where people are allowed to bring their dogs off leash. One of the things I would note, of course, is that Hammock Park doesn't have a dog park, so what I would interpret what they've done is kind of put up a quasi-official dog park, because it is restricted on 3 sides by waterways and heavy brush. The opening access where dogs could escape that area is actually the parking area where people come into the park. So that's what we found out in our data gathering, presented it to the Parks and Conservation Resources Advisory Board, again on August 18th, and a motion was made to continue with the current policies established by County Code, Chapter 90, and that passed 6-0 in favor of keeping the rules as they are.
Questions, comments? Commissioner Eggers.
Yeah, and I think the gentleman that you're talking about that had the encounter, he has his mindset to be able to go, anywhere in any park off leash. And my comment to him was, I think the list that you showed, which is all the folks that they're afraid of dogs. I mean, it does, whatever the reason, doesn't really matter. And so I wasn't necessarily encouraging any of that activity at all. I'm more back to the Dunedin thing, and that definitely is not looked at as a dog park. So just, that's not at all the case. It happens to be an area that is kind of in a reclusive little area of the park. I agree with you. And that's kind of what I was getting at when you and I talked was, is there a place that we have in one of our parks? And even if it's a plastic fencing that you put around this one area that is very wide and open where they can throw frisbees, train dogs off leash in a limited time frame, so other times that people can come in and use it for their touch football or a pickup game of softball or whatever they're going to use it for. Is there an area that we can designate that's the question, not free run. The second question is did the group maybe even throw out a survey to see what level of interest is in having this? Because if we have one person, you don't want to do all of this for just one person, but if there's a couple hundred people that would say, yeah, well, I'd love to come to a place where, even if it's enclosed, but a big area, and we can train our dog, or just to have them run free, then it would be different. We seem to try to provide opportunities for people for a variety of issues. So that was the only thing I was looking at as a possibility. And I wasn't even sold on that yet. I just wanted to do a little bit more homework, so.
And I think that's, with the gentleman, you know, as you said, his argument initially was, we had no authority to tell people what they could do with their dogs because the state didn't give us the authority. The issue with having an area where people can train their dogs, throw frisbees, things like that, that's exactly the purpose for the dog parks that are already there. You know, they're you know, over an acre and a half for the most part. Certainly there's times when it's going to be more crowded, but there are times you can go out to a dog park and, you know, you'll be the only dog owner there. So the issue of setting up another area within a park that has a dog park already really is counterintuitive to the whole. It's really, you're just building another dog park. But
And it also would require staffing.
Right.
And so it's a little easier at a municipality to staff that than addressing this countywide. Because that became another issue that Paul raised, at least to me, in terms of if we were going to do something like that, we would need staffing there to enforce it, to make sure that it's managed, and that would be a resource limitation. So.
if we limited the hours, someone then has to go out there and make sure people understand that now it's time to go, potentially take down, the fencing, because, if I use an example like John Chestnut Park, we've got an open field, but that's also used by kids to practice soccer or baseball, things like that. Older people go out there and throw the frisbees around because it's an open area.
Commissioner Gerard.
Well, that's what I was going to say about, that's what dog parks are for dogs to be allowed to go run free. I was pleased to see we have them in 8 different parks. That's great. And don't most municipalities have a dog leash rule in general? I mean, that's why dog parks are created, so they can go someplace and run around. Because I think when people think about, well, my dog wouldn't go run over and bite somebody, it assumes that all dogs are that well trained or that mild-mannered, and that's just not the case. I mean, we had a dog when I was a kid that would run. It was some sort of a terrier kind of thing, or a whatever, a retriever. He would run for miles. I mean, you could not catch that dog, no matter what, and he wouldn't listen to commands at all. Wonderful dog, absolutely no control. So I think there are many dogs like that.
Other questions or comments? Yeah, I always, when we think about dog parks, former mayor of St. Pete always told me, he goes, I spent $100 million on piping and no one cared. I spent $30,000 on a dog park and I was the best mayor in the history, So I think if there's areas that don't, if there's a geographic area that doesn't have a dog park, and we can help with that, but otherwise I'm not in favor of making any changes to the rules that we have currently. I don't know if anybody else feels differently.
Well, and the other thing I was going to say was that, like in Dunedin, again, there's a small group of people that came to the commission and asked for an area that they could fly their planes. It didn't include many people, but there was a half a dozen people that go out there and they fly their planes around this area of the park. So it's not a big group, but we're trying to do things to provide opportunities for people to do things in public areas. And so that was the spirit under which I think I was at least wanting it to be considered. So is there a person out of 700,000 to 1 million people that wants to do it? Or is there 100 people or 200 that would really appreciate a really open area? I mean, dog parks are big, but they're, you know, they have some restrictions to that free. So that was my only reason, is to say, hey, can we at least have a check to see if there's an interest in this? If there is, you know, that. But anyway, that was the purpose behind it. We are trying to provide opportunities for residents to do things that you and I around this table may have no interest in. But, and if it can be done reasonably, and it's not, you know, again, a couple of hours a day to have free reign, 7 to 9 o'clock, I suggest there won't be a lot of kids out there trying to do their thing. If they are, they're not in school and all that good stuff. So anyway, that was the purpose behind the request. And, so, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Causey.
That is the only agenda items that we have for today, besides the agenda review. So if there's no other questions, we'll move to agenda review. Okay, just going on down, there's several ministerial type items. Going to item number 8, this is a resolution ratifying approval of a request for additional funds from the Emergency Rental Assistance Funds. So it's $2.1 million, and so obviously we appreciate any free money that we can get. Item number 9 is a resolution supplementing the general fund budget for realignments. This is $1.1 million, and part of this is a FEMA reimbursement, and you can see the breakdown of how the program dollars are allocated. Item 10 is a air quality tag fee fund, and this was an amendment due to budgetary changes. This is taking $190,000 from the reserves. The amendment aligns $3 million from the employee health funds for our benefits program because they come in higher than projected. It's two different things, air tag fund and the employee health reserve fund. Item 11 is ranking of firms with Jacobs Engineering for professional engineering. This is for Joe's Creek model update, alternative analysis, and the feasibility study.
When we get this report back, when this study back, will we have will it provide a path forward on, what's the end product, I guess, is?
Well, I was looking around to see if Kelly or Jill's here, and they're not. So, my
I don't need it today. I just
yes. Well, we'll follow up on that. But yes, it should. So they're really looking at what can we do in that Joe's Creek area and what types of different programs that we can implement. This is just the design and feasibility study. So my guess is there's going to be restrictions on land. There's going to be restrictions on what we can do from stormwater and all those different things. And this will identify the projects that can be done as part of the other funding that we have set aside.
Okay.
But I'll get you a better answer for that.
Okay.
Okay. Item number 12 is ranking of firms with the top 5 ranked firms for land surveying, mapping, subsurface utility locates, and these are federal grant dollars through the American Rescue Plan. And basically this is for, and you're going to see this on a couple of projects, this is for all of our American Rescue Plan projects. And the same thing, 3 highest ranked firms for brownfield services for all of our federal grant projects. Item 14, award of a bid for, this is sulfur dioxide gas. And as you can see, as we're seeing in a lot of areas, a 16.4% increase in cost. Item 15 is award of a bid to QRC for annual water and reclaimed water repairs. So we have, and again, another one where you're seeing an 18% increase in the cost.
16 is the receipt and file report for the cases that have been served on the county since the last report.
17 is a First Amendment and purchasing authorization with Gray Bar Electric Company. This is for various county departments. This extends the contract, but it also increases the cost based upon the market, and quantity I'm sorry, price increases. Item 18 is an agreement with Florida Tourism Marketing Corporation, Visit Florida, for a promotion of Life's Rewards Season 2 video series. And Steve Hayes is here if you have any questions.
Yeah, I mean, are we able to see, I mean, if Steve wants to come and just kind of tell us briefly what results we saw from the first season? Besides a cliffhanger that wasn't answered in season 2.
Good morning, Commissioners. Steve Hayes with Visit St. Pete Clearwater. And yes, the cliffhanger wasn't answered, but I guess with programming, that's one of the options you have in your creativity. To answer your question regarding what we saw as a result of the first one, just real quickly, the advertising value, so I'm going to go back, if we had to go and buy that, for every dollar we spent, we were getting $60 back. This is based on the following: over 1 billion impressions of people watching the show, 2.9 million minutes of watch time. So keep in mind, that's a lot of binge watching to catch the programming. Advertising value of 20.2 million. So that was off the first year. And then I thought what was interesting is we had one of our hotels that created packages because it was a hotel that was featured, and they quadrupled the revenue in this short time period around packages compared to the previous time. So all of a sudden now, you people wanting to go there and stay there because of what was happening there. I also wanted to point out that the production itself, 50 local jobs, 300 room nights from the production, and then 1.5 million in local expenditures. And the difference between the two, other than the cliffhanger, is we actually got to explore other parts of the county. In this case, a lot of Dunedin would be a great example, but also we had down Fred Howard Park, the Florida Botanical Gardens, Fort DeSoto, Clearwater Marine Aquarium. And again, it remains one of the ways for us to communicate what our community is to potential visitors in a way that's not traditional.
No, the footage was incredible, and they did specifically, you know, they didn't say they were going to the beach, they were going to Clearwater Beach. They weren't going to a club, they were going to a club in downtown Dunedin, and so it was very specific references to the areas, so. Any other questions? Commissioner Seal?
I haven't watched it yet. Can I still watch it?
Yes. Would you like for me to send a link to Amazon? If you have Amazon Prime, you can watch it there. I'll be happy to send the link out. And then I think you can download it and then watch it on your next trip or the next time that you're in a car and want to not fall asleep.
Commissioner Peters?
Just to refresh my memory, this was the total cost of $550,000, and we paid for the whole thing, and then we're supposed to get paid back. Am I correct?
No, so
Was that a different movie that we paid for the whole thing? Because it appears that we paid for the whole thing between you and us, which is the county.
yeah, so the first year, it was 550, of which Visit Florida contributed to that, and then we contributed to that. This year, it's 500, but it's really split differently. Last time, from the promotion part of it, let me go, just want to make sure I have my facts correct here. So in that, Visit Florida was paying half of that production. We were paying the other half on the production as well as the promotion of it. This time, what we're going through and doing is they have the production as the 250, and then we came back and said, what things can you do from the promotion side of it? And actually, the first year is we did the promotion of it. So that really being the difference.
So I don't understand all this very well, and so the production and the marketing, but I just didn't know when we got in the business of doing movies and funding the whole thing. And it just doesn't make sense that we're funding so much. And so I guess maybe I'm not understanding, and you can help me understand later, but, okay, so Visit Florida paid for half, 50%, we're paying for the other half. So government funded is paying for all of the production.
So the question, Steve, is that the total production cost of the entire film?
That is correct.
Oh, okay.
So taxpayers are paying to produce a film. And I don't get this. I just don't get that we would spend taxpayer money, and I get it's bed tax money on the Visit Florida and all that stuff. But I'm not sure that I get that taxpayer dollars pay to fund shows and productions. I just don't get that. I don't get it at all. I didn't get it before when we voted on it, and I still don't get it. I just don't get it. People are in business to do this, and maybe we haven't had other movie companies coming here and asking us to fund to produce the whole thing again, but I just don't know that funding movies is what we should be doing with our taxpayer dollars. I'm sorry, I just don't.
I think it's seen as not funding a movie as far as like what you're going to see in a theater is more like funding a 8-part infomercial, no different than we would buy commercials around the world. I think that's how it was presented to us before. And the world is changing as far as how people watch things, and they'll binge on this series where they'll never see our ad on 60 Minutes.
Yeah, I get that. But we didn't fund half of a dolphin tale. In the state, I got $5 million for them, but we didn't fund 50% of the production of a dolphin tale. You know what I'm saying? And we got incredible return on investment on that movie. But taxpayer dollars didn't come from the county to pay for half of the production. So it's just, I don't know. I get what you're saying, but it still goes against my core principles on the free market.
Any other questions? Commissioner Seal?
I just want to note, though, we are helping to fund other movie production to the tune of about $1 million, I think.
It's actually about $1.5 million, but that could be a whole number of different productions.
Right. But I just wanted to make the point that we're helping to do that in the local market.
Further questions? All right, thank you, Steve. Appreciate the info.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Barry?
All right, item number 19 is an MSTU for Friends of Ridgecrest for facility upgrades and equipment for the Tasker Beal Service Center. So it's their small community center. Item number 20 is an MSTU for Tierra Verde, and this is for the repairs and upgrades and the landscaping. This is for their irrigation system. So this is MSTU for that. As part of this, that they've agreed to continue the agreement that we have for them to pay for the maintenance of that byway area. And so we linked the two together.
Will they be paying for the water?
Well, again, I'm absent staff. I can't look back. That's Brian that would be able to answer that. And I think that I have to check. I don't want to answer that without knowing. It's whatever the agreement is now, and that we struck with them in, I think, 2016 or something to that effect. And so we've continued that. And it was what we would have paid if we had maintained the median. So we're contributing that amount of money adjusted, but they want a higher level of service, obviously, which is the reason they're paying that difference. But I'll get an answer from Brian on that.
Pulled up the agenda item, and 12,000 is for irrigation, 8,000 is for new plants.
Yes, the current irrigation system is broke, and so we can't, if that's the reason they're coming for an MSTU on that, to where then the plants and everything will survive. And this was negotiated. There was a much bigger request. Item 21 is 9 applications under Penny Fernell's Employment Sites Program. So we can certainly go through theirs, and we have staff to answer any questions. But again, this continues our employment sites. This was a really good round. And as you can see, most of them, just like the one that we just, cut the ribbon for, they're not helping them build buildings as much as helping get the site ready to where it can compete from a financial standpoint if they were to go to a greenfield site, for instance. And so it makes us competitive in competing for keeping these jobs local.
Commissioner Eggers.
Yeah, and so on the presentation then on Tuesday, can we just kind of have like a summary that it looks like if you go through here, I'm just reading it pretty quickly, that a lot of it is going towards what you're talking about. Maybe
not all
just to
of it, yes.
summarize what the dollars are that are going for that kind of basic infrastructure would be helpful. Just so when we tell them that tell our residents that we're spending X million dollars of penny money off the top, that, that economic piece.
And it's in your write-up, but we can certainly go through that in any detail you want. But you're right, like in Harold Properties, Starkey Lake, and this is to offset stormwater vaulting and fill dirt, So again, trying to make the site competitive. I do want to point out that we have the Innovation Center, which is what we previously agreed to. That is on there. That's obviously very different than the others. But each one, has its own unique piece. But you see a lot of it is stormwater. A lot of it is fill. You do have, let's see. You relocating municipal utilities, so each one's a little bit unique, but we actually have staff available now, or we can do it next Thursday.
I'm fine, but I think it's good to be able to pass this along to our residents, what we're doing with that money. So just some kind of, without having to go through each one,
Okay.
summarize kind of what we're using the money for. I think would be helpful, because we are trying to make sites competitive.
Correct.
And in our part of it's more infrastructure, basic infrastructure related. I mean, stormwater, that kind of thing, so.
And so Teresa's here, and so I'll ask her to do that on Thursday when we have this agenda item on. What I will say is that, and this is on TV and stuff too, but when these come to you, we've vetted those. I actually kicked some back and asked them to renegotiate those because we really want to stick to competitive advantage, not subsidizing, And so we're really trying to push that and make stretch our tax dollars to be truly incentive-based to keep us competitive.
And I think that's the kind of commentary I'd like to see and hear, so our residents can see and hear it as well.
Yeah, okay, we certainly will do that. Item 22 is additional funding for Seminole Square Apartments. This is an additional $1.6 million. This, like other affordable housing projects, has seen huge cost increases. They had to renegotiate this. Largo came to the table, put in additional funding. This would be the additional funding needed to close the gap to be able to make this project go forward. Bruce is here if you have any specific questions related to the project. I believe he's here.
He's there.
I can't see the pillar.
It would be interesting, and not related to this project, Bruce, but just in general, we're seeing, like you mentioned before, 16%, 18%.
Yeah.
At some point, I mean, we keep absorbing those costs, but at some point, something falls off, either a whole nother project at the end doesn't get funded at all, or we have to start deciding to curtail certain and I know we don't have a choice on how much chemicals we use for our water supply, and those, we don't have a choice on some of those. But anyway, just as we start to, we do the daily, sometimes you have to step back and look at the big picture at how some of these funding streams just aren't going to exist anymore.
It's a valid conversation. We'd be happy to have that. We've talked about that. And the time where we need housing the most is that, but we're seeing hyperinflation. Do we stop funding some of these projects and hope that it gets better? And you go, well, that's counterintuitive to moving the projects, which is what is needed. And and so we are struggling with that, along with trying to go after as many other dollars, to leverage these dollars as we can. But we're going to really have to push, and through the housing compact, we really got to push the density issues and density bonuses. And I know neighbors don't necessarily want to hear that, but that's the only way you're going to be able to get the unit pricing down to where you can afford to incorporate these projects.
And I know they're not all the same. Each project is not $100, and so 20% of this is different than 20% of that. I get all of that, but at some point, all the 20% add up to 100% of somebody else another project just not happening. So,
That's-
and so.
you're exactly right.
And we're not able to make that decision today, looking down at a project a year from now. Well, we're just not going to do that. And that one, we may want to do more than this one, and it's just,
How about we do
I know you
this?
can't really do much. It's just,
No.
just venting a little frustration, I guess.
It's the same conversation we're having at a staff level, and we'd be happy to have that in a work session, because it is putting pressure on the finite, limited amount of dollars that we have. And these cost increases, I mean, I will tell you, I push back on this one. Why? Because we're absorbing a huge percentage of the increase, even though, we were a smaller percentage before, now we're a bigger percentage because of that. It's not equal. At the same time, the developer, reduced part of their fees as a percentage of the project to try to make the project go forward. So everybody's giving, but from just from a number standpoint, the developer at some point says, okay, well, I can't make it go. So then we have to decide, is the project ready to go forward or not? So we can kind of package, and I think a better way to do it is kind of tell you what's in the pipeline. And so we'll bring that back to a work session.
Okay.
And have that discussion.
All right. Sounds good.
It's a good discussion.
Yeah, just a comment real quick on that. I think the total commitment for us on this project looks like close to 7 million, if I'm doing the numbers right. The increase, the entire increase is being borne by the county, the city, and a little bit, I guess, by the developer is
Correct.
refinancing,
Yes.
renegotiating his
But
debt.
ours is going from 4 million to 5.6, or 5.56 million. Is that correct, Bruce? Yeah. So we're going up by $1.5 million, but again, the project went up by 3 million, and we're taking half of the increase. So that.
And so we're, the two government groups are providing 7 million of the 30.
Right.
And how much of that's dirt and how much of it is part of the vertical? I think to
Oh,
your
it's part
point
of the
about.
it's part of the project cost. You gotta buy it down to where you can rent it out
I
at
know,
the
I'm just wondering what we're buying down. Are we buying down dirt? Are we
No.
buying down vertical also? Are we-
vertical construction. Yes, Bruce?
Of the county's funding, the original $4 million, $1.8 million of that is going towards the land acquisition. The balance of that funding and the additional funding will be going for construction costs.
And so this additional money is going towards construction costs.
Correct.
So it has gone just from underwriting land.
Correct.
And it's gotten,
Well, a portion even before was going to buy down the cost, but at a certain point, then the numbers don't make sense and they can't break even on the project. And you're right. I mean, and that's the reason we've seen, other projects where they've walked away and said the numbers no longer work.
and I guess, it was about $30,000 a unit? I mean, when you do the numbers, it's, I don't know, again, I'm not sure in value if that's good value or not. I mean, we need the units,
Yes.
but is $30 million for 96 units good value? I mean, forget who's paying for it, just in general.
It is when we compare to the applications that we've seen over the last 2 years. So, we're tracking those numbers in terms of total cost, in terms of per unit cost, and then in terms of per affordable unit cost. So each project's different. This project is 100% affordable. If we were looking at it, 20 units being affordable versus all 96 units, there's some different valuation there. But overall cost increases with, not only affordable housing projects, but all projects are going up. I think what's interesting here is, we're hearing a lot about construction costs, and that's a big factor here, but half of these cost increases are due to interest rates. And so, that's another contributing factor here where it's not just the inflation, the construction costs, labor, but it's also interest rates, that 2.5%, 3% increase that, we see it in the home ownership mortgage lending, but also, when you're $30 million projects, another 2%. So over $1 million of these increased costs are from interest impacts that a year ago when this application was first vetted, weren't anticipated.
Yeah, and I missed that by 1 decimal point, so it's not 30,000, it's 300,000 a unit.
No.
Yeah, well, at 96 units and
Yeah, the
30
total
million.
all-in cost is 320,000 per unit.
Per unit, yeah, I was talking about what our subsidy is. Yeah.
No.
Subsidy
About the
amount.
total cost,
Yeah.
not ours, but, I mean, again, I guess that's, mean, I don't know how to tell if that's good or bad, so, again, I just think at the conversations, we need we need the units, but
It's a, you know, and so we look at it from what is the, you know, our portion of that, right? And we were seeing in that $25,000 subsidy range. Now it's, you know, up over 30. But I will tell you, we just had a recent conversation from the one in the municipality that's desperate to try to increase the number of affordable units, and the proposals that they had were over 70,000 subsidy. And of course, we said, try again, you know, but that's the challenge that we're having. You know, that's the challenge where you're trying to get a developer where they can make that kind of money on the open market, and you're trying to get them to incorporate affordable units. And so it comes back to that bigger question, what are you willing to spend?
yeah, this one's like you're close to 60,000 for us, per unit.
Is that what it is, Bruce? Yeah. Wow.
I mean, it's getting crazier and crazier, I guess, so. Anyway, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Bruce.
Item 23 is an agreement with the medical examiner. This is, you can see a 7.2% increase, largely due to increase in salaries. Offset is partially done through our fees to Pasco County, as well as federal grants. Item 24 is funding agreement with Boley Centers for Permanent Supportive Housing. No change. This is no change in the allocation from FY22. Item 25 is our Human Services Social Action Grant funding recommendations. We had 57 applications. 2 different committees reviewed them. The committee recommended award to 16 agencies, and they're broken down within your packet. Item number 26 is a new grant application, and this is for the removal of waste tires from the coastal waterways. Item 27 is an agreement with Frontier Florida for additional utility relocate. So they're actually going to, they hit so many lines, they're actually going to pay for us to go out and be more aggressive in finding their utility to locate. So we're going to outsource this, and it's a way of trying to reduce the number of conflicts we have. Item 28 is appointment to Career Source. You have 1 application. Item number 29 is the FY23 Lealman CRA work plan. That's what Chris presented you in July. Item 30 is the fiscal year 23 CRA budget.
Under items, both items, number 31 and 32, are cases that have been investigated by the Office of Human Rights. They are both cases involving alleged housing discrimination, one on the basis of disability and one on the basis of race. Under item number 33, I am not anticipating any reports.
Item 24 is, I'll probably have a report. Figure it out when I get back. Item 25 is an appointment to the Construction Licensing Board. This is approval of 8 reappointments. Item 36 is Library Cooperative. You have 2 appointments. Item 37 is appointments to Suncoast Health Council, and you have 3 reappointments. And item 38, obviously, is your different committees and our reports. And we added an item, which is our county administrator's review. And as you know, we're meeting ahead of having a work session at 1 o'clock on next Thursday, ahead of the budget meeting, or a regular board agenda. Over on public hearings, item 39 is a TIFRA hearing for, this is Learning Independence for Tomorrow, $10 million. And remember, these are no credit against the county and no responsibility. Item 40 is petition to vacate a portion of a 30-foot platted right-of-way. Staff is requesting the vacation because it relates to the previous exchange property on North Avenue. This rectifies a Scribner's error of a previously approved item. So staff will be able to explain that when it comes to you. And then we have just final little thing called the budget.
Further questions? Any new business that any commissioner plans to bring forward? And I think we'll have at least one Skyway, that we'll send out to you as soon as we get the final info on it. Anything else?
That's all I got.
Anything else? All right, very good. We are adjourned.
Thank you.